This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Ella was a very active and lively girl. When I enjoyed, she was my only daughter. We had 4 kids at the time of the accident and 3 boys, and she was our girl. And I enjoyed being able to pick her up and dance with her and sing with her, and she liked it. She was wild and she had tons of energy, but when I would do that, she was calm and she would just sit in my arms as long as I wanted to sing to her and dance with her. It made me feel pretty special.
She definitely was a daddy's girl. She felt like a princess, and she always wanted to be a princess, and she loved to dance, and she loved to eat. She loved to take care of everyone she was around. If there was a baby anywhere near her, she was all over that baby, taking care of it. She was a little mama. We called her Little Mama a lot. Joseph was her baby.
We brought him home from the hospital, but he wasn't ours. Do you think she still watches over you at all? I like that video we have where you guys are dancing with her in the kitchen and she's trying to follow what you guys are doing and she's kind of going a little bit crazy maybe.
She was very good at getting her brothers to dance with her.
She wasn't a perfect child. She would get in trouble and she was full of energy. But when she wasn't here anymore, we really noticed that she wasn't here because the noise level in the house it went down way too much. It was almost painful how quiet the house was after she wasn't here anymore. On May 16th, it was a normal Monday. We had some friends over for dinner, and I was taking them home. And as I was leaving the house, Ella ran out. It was probably about 7:30, so it was time that she needed to get in bed. But I'd love to have her with me, and Daisha didn't object. I was a little bit surprised, but I was glad. So we took them home, and we were coming home. We stopped to get gas, and it was kind of fun. She unbuckled, and we rolled down the back window so we could, while I was getting gas, we could talk and play a little bit. And then when it was time to go, she buckled up really fast, and we were driving home, and I don't know what happened.
On May 16th, it was a normal Monday. I was excited to have finally graduated from USC, and everything in my life seemed to be working out perfectly. My degree was in hospitality and hotel management. I became dissatisfied with the environment of bars, and being around drinking wasn't something I wanted for the rest of my life. For this reason, I made plans to move to Florida and work at a gym and pursue a graduate degree in personal fitness. The golf tournament at Indian River was going to be my last event. I was instructed to make sure the golfers had a good time. I took this to mean that I was to drink with the guests in order to enhance the fun and festive mood of this charity golf event. I didn't pay much attention to how much I was drinking. After all, I thought I was in a safe environment. After a few hours passed, I lost recollection of what was happening. Apparently, I got into my car and drove away about 8:15 p.m. What happened next would change my life forever.
We left the gas station, we turned onto Ramblin' Road was the last thing I remember.
On May 16, 2011, I do remember hearing about a collision through other officers. I was a lieutenant at the time. I was briefed on the case, and I contacted the South Carolina Highways Patrol's MATE team, who does accident reconstruction, and got with those guys about doing the reconstruction of the accident.
I had moments of clarity where I could see what was going on, but my mind wasn't there. I could see that the front of my car was no longer. It was just a mangled mess of metal. And I didn't know what day of the week it was or what time of day it was. I could kind of see silhouettes of people around me. and my consciousness was coming and going, and I was trying really hard to figure out what was going on, and I guess I was in shock probably, because my body was in so much pain that I didn't recognize anything that was going on. Then I realized there was a lady that was holding my hand, and I'm so thankful for her because she helped me stay calm through it. Because as people would come, the first responders would come and go, and they'd ask me questions. One of them asked me if the girl that was in the back seat with me was my daughter.
I was upstairs putting my boys to bed, and my phone started ringing and saw that it was Devin calling me. And when I said hello, it was a woman on the other side of the line. She asked me if I was standing, and I said yes, and she said, "You need to sit down. Something has happened, you need to sit down." So I sat down and I said, okay. And she said that Devin had been in an accident, and she asked me if my daughter was in the car with him. Joseph was already asleep, and the two boys, I had been sitting reading with them, and I went upstairs and I told them that there had been a car accident and that everything was going to be okay, but I needed to go up to the hospital to find out, what was going on, and that we decided that we should pray. I drove up to the hospital, not knowing what was going on, not knowing where my husband was. The lady who had called, they were still trying to get Devin out of the car.
We got a call that Devin and Ella had been in an accident. Didn't have a lot of details, but that they had taken them to separate hospitals.
I was just focused on getting up to where Ella was, because I was sure she was scared, that she was all alone and not with her dad. I told him that my daughter had been in a car accident, that she was 4 years old, that she had blonde hair, that she had blue eyes. They didn't want to take me back to where Ella was. But I told them, I just need to see Ella. I need to be with her. And so they explained that the doctors were still working on her. And they said, you can go in there, let the doctors and nurses work. You can't touch her. The doctor said that they needed to call it, that they needed to pronounce her. Even though I didn't want her to be gone, I knew when I walked in, even though they were still working on her, I knew she was already gone. And instantly, as soon as they pronounced her, they all left. And I was there all by myself.
When I arrived, I was informed of the sad news that Ella had passed away. And I went into the room where Daisha and Ella were. And Daisha was obviously upset. She had another friend there with her from the church, and they were trying to console her. As her bishop, I went in and asked if there was anything we could do. What can we do? Where's Devin? Can we help you in any way? Gave her some time to grieve there in the hospital with Ella.
Even though I did not want to leave my daughter, I knew that she wasn't there anymore, and I knew that my husband would need me, because I knew that he was still here, and he had some serious injuries, and he needed to know how his daughter was, and he needed me to be there to know that we could get through this together, that we could do this together.
The next thing I remember, I was waking up in the hospital. I started to feel this pain. But when Daisha came in and I saw her, it was the best medicine I could have, where it put me at ease. She was very calm, more so than she couldn't be that calm without heaven's help. I'm confident of that. But she came to me, and I relaxed a little bit. Then I asked her my next question, how was Ella? And she very calmly said, she didn't make it.
We were able to get the toxicology results back, which they were 3 times the legal limit. We were able to draw warrants up on Caitlin Braun, who was the driver of the vehicle. One of the things I do remember the mom telling me, Miss Shoemate telling me, is that she feels sorry for the individual that this happened, that caused this, because she's got to live the rest of her life with that on her mind. And that was not what I thought was going to come out of her mouth, but it did.
I woke in the hospital to police notifying me that I had caused a collision and a little girl was dead. They read me my rights and I requested a lawyer. The only thing I said was to tell the Shoemate family I was sorry. There aren't enough words to describe my guilt. To this day, I wish it was I who was killed and Ella survived. While I was in the hospital, the nurses who helped me were also helping Devin. They told me that the Shoemates were praying for me. My mom and I didn't realize there were people like this in the world.
I don't remember feeling angry with her or horrified. I just remember kind of a great remorse for her, and that she would have to deal with that, have that burden for the rest of her life.
I never saw any anger. I never saw any rage. It was always a forgiveness. They had a peacefulness about them that I really can't describe. They are obviously folks of strong faith and relied on that, and it was, I guess the right word would be spiritually uplifting to know that there are people around like them.
I was just able finally to meet Devin and speak to Devin, and I actually came to his house and spoke to him and get his statement about what happened that night. And I know that was a terrible time. This was only a week into the whole incident of losing his child, and I remember coming in their house, and he was in the corner of the living room in a hospital bed that he was sent home with, and family all around him, and having to sit there and let him give a statement to us for our investigation about what he was doing, where he was coming from, and just to rehash all that back up. And it hadn't even been a week since all that had happened.
After several days, I was booked into the Lexington County Jail. My attorney was working to minimize my bond and allow me to return to New Jersey to await sentencing. I was told it depended on the victim's request as to what the judge would allow. Before the hearing, he communicated with the Shoemates, and they didn't object, considering I was being charged with 2 felony DUIs. The judge agreed, and my mom was able to use her retirement and savings to post bond. A few days later, we had another court hearing to see if I could return to New Jersey. The solicitor was against me returning, but the judge agreed because the Shoemates didn't object. After the hearing, my mom asked for permission for me to talk directly to the Shoemates. My mom pointed out the buttons with Ella's pictures they were wearing. We hugged each other and cried. I could only say I was sorry. I didn't know how they could possibly forgive me.
Folks in their situation are typically angry, hurt, traumatized about every negative emotion you can have, and with good reason. I have children of my own. I couldn't imagine losing one of them for any reason, much less at the hands of someone who is alleged to have been impaired.
From the very beginning, Caitlin took responsibility. When she was in the hospital and they told her what she had done, she was advised by her lawyer not to speak at all, but she told the police to tell us that she was sorry for what she had done. And I think that made it easier on us to know that she was taking responsibility. Never once did she do anything with the legal proceedings to try to lessen her sentence.
Over the last 3.5 years, going through the judicial system and the process with having to face the person that caused the death of their daughter. And it's one thing to say you forgive somebody when they're not standing in front of you, but to reach out and hug that person and tell them that you forgive them face to face, that takes strength and power forgiveness that most people don't have in this world.
Caitlin needed medical treatment that she would not get in jail if bond were denied, and the Shoemates were very, again, gracious in their approach. And they knew she needed medical treatment. They were compassionate enough to be reasonable so that she could get out and deal with the case through her attorney and get the medical care she needed.
On February 8, 2012, I returned to South Carolina to plead guilty. Prior to the formalities, I requested a moment to speak to the Shoemates, where I handed them a letter I'd written. The room was full of attorneys, and it was really impersonal, but I felt a little relieved to finally share some of the feelings I had. Sentencing was set for that summer.
Caitlin made it pretty clear through her lawyer early on that this wasn't going to be a case that they were looking to take to trial. They knew how serious it was, that there was a child that was deceased, that there was a man who was severely injured, and this would be a terrible case to try to take to trial because the sentencing could have been devastating for her, Caitlin, had she been convicted, I think up to 45 years.
We told Anson that he could say whatever he wanted at Caitlin's sentencing, and he said he thought that we were both going to be okay, but he said that when he found out that she died, he was happy and sad. He was sad because he wouldn't have his sister anymore, but he was happy because she would say she wanted to live with Heavenly Father, and now she got her wish.
My attorney worked hard to coordinate anybody who could be there and say good things about me. My dad wrote a letter, my mom spoke, as well as several friends and family, and the Shoemates. My heart ached when I realized that I had taken their daughter, sister, and friend from them. The Shoemates talked about who Ella was and simply asked the judge to be fair. My mind was spinning, and I didn't hear the judge say that a long sentence would serve no purpose for anyone. I was sentenced to 18 months and quickly put in handcuffs and whisked away to jail.
He must have been 9 years old at the time to talk about that, but he was just talking from his heart, and it made me proud to be his father.
I wrote a birthday card to Ella on April 26th and mailed it to her parents. They later told me it meant a lot to them. It said in part, "I think about Gabriella every day and will always remember this day as the birthday of the little girl that saved my life. With all that your family has given me, I wish I could return the blessing. I'm more determined today to live right and help others, and I will continue to strive to become a better person." One Saturday, I was surprised to be called to visitation and was shocked to see Devin. He wrote that he would like to visit me, but I thought it might be hard for him, and I didn't know if he would be able to do it. We talked for hours about our lives, the accident, and subsequent events from our perspectives. He was encouraging, and I think a little surprised to see that I was doing well. I told him I'd stopped taking anxiety medication that I'd been on for several years, and I'd started reading the Bible and praying more frequently. I was released from prison, and I've been home in New Jersey with my mom for several months now. Things are not easy being a convicted felon, but I have a different outlook on life than I did 4 years ago. If I could make different decisions May 16th, I would. I would have never started drinking. If I had been more responsible, Ella would be in the 2nd grade and still be doing ballet. But because of me, her parents will not get to raise her. I have to live with that guilt my entire life. Fortunately, I felt the forgiveness that can ease burdens and heal hearts. I don't know exactly why we were chosen to share in this experience, but I've come to understand that there is a reason. I will not let this all happen for nothing. Gabriella's life and memory will continue to be shared with many, so she can continue to positively touch people's lives. I want you to be able to see the good that comes out of this. Hopefully, Gabriella's message will change the way people think and act. I like to think I'm starting something small that will eventually grow bigger.
Every day, I'm sure she has to think about what has happened and decide to forgive herself, and same with us. I think we have to continually decide, are we going to hold on to anger or are we going to let go? And so far, every day, we've decided to let it go.
We told her at her sentencing that we will continue to be friends with her. And when she's in prison, that we'll continue to reach out to her. And we visited her a few times in prison while she was there, and we still email and call occasionally. I think somehow this incident has brought us together, and I think that she's told us before, she sent us a card on Ella's birthday, and it said that she feels that Ella is responsible for saving her life.
Do I think Caitlin has learned from this situation? I definitely think she has. In our interaction with her, things that she said, it has made a big impact on her life.
I have a daughter that's Ella's age, and they were best friends. And if I were to lose my daughter in that same circumstance, I don't know that I could have had the strength, but I would like to think that through our faith, that I would have had the strength to do what Devin and Daisha did. They are, they're great examples of our faith. They're great examples of how people should treat each other in this world.
There isn't a moment that we don't miss Ella, but she can continue to live on through us sharing our story and sharing who she was and how people can make better decisions and change the situations they're in for the better, and that we can make the world a better place together.
I picked her up and I gave her a hug, and I think I might have said something about, I'm sorry, I hope we're still friends or something. And she said what's on her headstone and what we have in our house, which is we're a family and that's what it's all about. And I have no idea where she got that from. But it kind of solidifies what we are. That we're a family, and whatever else happens, it doesn't matter, because we're a family first, and that's what it's all about, that we get to be a family forever.
There's certain cases that you work through your career that you always remember. And the Shoemate case is one that has blessed us in a sense. Not that it happened, but that you were able to meet a great family and see them through the years go from telling them what happened and the tragedy of it to sitting here today and talking to you about it, and where it's kind of brought us all together.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.